We'll wait for the participant numbers to build up a bit, Mayor Steele.
Sure.
Um,
We'll be
welcome,
waiting a
everybody.
long time. There's going to be a lot of people.
Welcome, everybody. We'll be starting in a few minutes here.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for joining the Mayor's Fall Update Series. We'll be starting in just a few seconds, letting our attendance list build up. People that are in the waiting room have to be entered one by one, so we're waiting for that to come up. Well, great. Let's get started. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the final session of the South Niagara Mayor's Fall Update Series. Today we'll be featuring our seventh mayor, Mayor Bill Steele, Mayor of Port Colborne. We thank all of our mayors for participating and know that many of our members are certainly concerned in these trying times. And we certainly have a number of questions regarding our communities. And we'll love to hear Mayor Steele's insight into what's happening in Port Colborne. We've spoken with Fort Erie, Wainfleet, Welland, Niagara Falls, Pelham, and Thorold. And I don't know about you, but I found these update series to be extremely insightful. And it certainly tells me that we have a great diversity of lovely communities in Niagara that we should be cherishing and really thankful for. And last but not least is Port Colborne, so it'll be interesting to see what Mayor Steele has to say. We thank all of our sponsors. We have B4 Networks, Niagara's largest IT service, who's assisting us today with the technical side of this, and also Growth Associates, myself, Vern Below. Also, we'd like to thank the Niagara Board of Trade and Commerce of Thorold for their participation and partnership in this. The format this morning will begin with Mayor Steele's update. We'll then open it up for questions. There will be a Q&A button that should come up if you hover over your screen. You'll see it in the middle bottom of your screen. Please post your questions there and not in the chat button. And submit them, and we'll hope to get to them during the presentation. If we don't, and you'd like your answer provided, please contact our chamber, and we'll do our best to get the answer for you. I'll now turn the floor over to Mayor Steele, and Mayor, thank you again for participating, and we certainly look forward to what you have to say.
Great. Thanks, Vern. I really appreciate this, and also with the Chamber of Commerce and watching my fellow mayors do their fall update. It's been good, and it has been a great presentation. Although, as we discussed earlier while we were waiting for this to start, some of us are getting a little sick of being on the computer all the time and Zoom meetings and things like that. So, but no, so I'm going to go through a pretty high level slideshow with you guys today and just kind of outline what's going on in the city of Port Colborne. And, you know, it has, as you've mentioned, it has been an interesting few months. And like a lot of municipalities trying to navigate COVID-19, it has been challenging, but also fascinating to watch how innovative and creative our staff have been in Port Colborne and ensuring that all our programs and services meet the needs of our community. So I appreciate the opportunity to give you a quick overview of what we've been up to this year and what we've accomplished. So we'll start moving this. So really, this is a quick view and rundown of what's happening in Port Colborne. Just wanted to briefly talk about how the city of Port Colborne has responded to COVID-19 and what our various departments have been up to. Despite COVID-19, it has been an incredibly busy year at the city. I'll also chat about our strategic priorities for 2021, introduce our new corporate branding and logo. Like many municipalities, we're continuing to navigate this pandemic. But beginning in March, we altered programs and services, keeping in line with the Ontario government and Niagara Regional's public health rules and initiatives. We continue to work closely with Niagara Region and communicate any new policies and government announcements to our community. And I can't stress enough, our priority is the health and safety of the citizens of Port Colborne and our City of Port Colborne staff. And I know we've had to postpone a number of special events, Canal Days in the summer, which is our signature event, the Santa Claus Parade, which would have taken place this past weekend, which is enjoyed by thousands in the downtown core here in Port Colborne. One thing we were able to do is we did bring in, although it was basically no crowd, was to bring in Santa Claus via our tugboat. So we did that on Saturday, and that was actually captured on film. It'll be placed out on the internet so people can enjoy that. So Santa and Mrs. Claus did make a little stop here in Port Colborne and did visit a few of our shops and restaurants. So we do appreciate that. And although any of the decisions didn't come lightly for the city and our staff and our committees that are involved in a number of our initiatives to cancel certain events, we've had a good collaboration from all of us and our public on this. So we are very appreciative of how everybody's been on it. You know, and again, we're disappointed we can't move forward with certain events, but all these decisions are made with the health and safety of our residents and staff in mind. We are in a pandemic, and it's important we continue to follow both the government of Ontario and the public health rules moving forward. And during COVID-19, we initiated a Resilient Port Colborne campaign. This campaign promoted local shops and restaurants. It took off once various restrictions were lifted, and we're very proud of our local vibrant community and want to make sure that our businesses are still able to succeed even in a pandemic. One thing we did very quickly, specifically when everybody kind of shut down and there was really only front door service or takeout service from our restaurants, we implemented a 15-minute parking zones within the downtown core so the public could come in, pick up their goods or their food and get out quickly. And that worked very well. And then once everybody was kind of back into the swing of things, we removed those in most areas. There were still a few businesses in our public library that kept that because they felt it was still important that people just weren't comfortable coming in. So it allowed them to do front door pickups. So that's worked very well. And again, if we hope we never get there, but if we ever get to the next level in the red zone, it'd be something that we would initiate very quickly again for our businesses. But again, we do thank our community and how well they've been in following the rules, and our numbers here, knock on wood, have been very good. So you know, those are initiatives we hope we don't have to go back to, but they are there at our calls. So again, we're working every day with our business community to make sure that there's as few barriers as possible for them. So and our staff continue to meet the needs of all our residents and our businesses with regards to customer service. Even though the doors of City Hall were closed, we never stopped our programs and services here at City Hall, and staff are always available to answer questions, help with bill payments, and other various needs. One thing COVID-19 did allow us to do was look at the way we executed programs and services and took a more digital approach to some of these. I'm quite impressed with the creativity I've seen from our staff, and I'll share some of these innovative and creative solutions further in this presentation. A couple examples, though: the museum and public library have provided programming in socially distant ways and through various digital platforms. So let's get on to that. So under the customer service, so what's new at the City of Port Colborne? This year we focused on customer service. That was a strategy from council and senior staff. And again, both council and myself are very impressed on how our staff have responded to this. That's something that we all came in after the last election and wanted to just make sure that when you come to City Hall, you don't leave frustrated. And like anything, it's whether it's one of our businesses, when you've got a frustrated customer, unlike business, they may not go back to you. With us, they have to come back because you still got to pay your taxes and your water bills and deal with the City of Port Colborne. So unless they move to another community, which I'm sure has happened across this country or even province, but you know, they do. They you know, they're here every day dealing with our staff, and we just got to make sure that when somebody walks out, their answers, their questions are answered, and everything they've needed, they've been able to receive. or our staff are getting back to them if they didn't have the answer right then and there. So we wanted to know how they found the accessibility of programs and services, how our staff engaged with them. Those are questions we asked our public, and we wanted to know if there were areas that we could improve upon. This helped to establish our overall customer relationship management project with the goal of revamping our approach to customer service. Included in this update were our phone systems. You actually get a live voice now. There's no longer, press 1 if you want this department, press 2 for that, or if you know somebody's extension. Our phone system now comes on with a quick message and then it goes live to one of our customer service reps. That has been huge. That is something that I have never liked, was voicemail phone systems. In my business, with companies that I deal with, I can't stand when I call there and all you get is, you got to press numbers. Well, you don't always know those numbers. With us, it's again, with council and the mayor's office, we said, no, we want somebody live to answer this call and make sure that that person gets in touch with the right person. Or if that person isn't available, instead of just leaving voicemails, we can get as much detail at the front counter, basically over the phone as possible. Or we can actually have our customer service reps lead the person through their issue, and then everything could be answered right then and there, as opposed to waiting for somebody to call them back. So that was an initiative we came, and it's working very well. I'm getting great praise from the public that hate sitting on a phone. So we promise that won't happen here, as long as we're all here, I guess. We also updated our phone system. So our system has been updated within City Hall, and we're implementing work order system. So if somebody calls in and there's a street light out or potholes or tree issues, they can actually talk to our customer service rep. It's entered onto a system. It goes out for the work order. So everything is laid out right there. So if somebody calls back and says, I've never heard back from somebody, our staff can say, no, Mrs. Smith, you've talked to so-and-so in the Public Works Department, or you've talked to somebody in Parks and Recreation. This is what was discussed. That whole new implementation of our customer service takes you from start to finish. So we know when we spoke to the public, when staff spoke to other staff, what was in the work order, and then when work order was completed, it's all right there. So it's not that old he said, she said, and things like that. So, it's important on both sides. It's important to our staff so that, if somebody complains to a counselor or to the mayor's office that, staff didn't look after this, we can actually log right in, find that and say, yeah, you're right, or no, you were talked to, and these are the dates you were talked to, and the issue has been completed. So, and then also on the public side, it's like, well, they called me back and said they were going to have it done by this date. Well, if that's in there and staff didn't have it done by that date, and that's the promise, then that's where our senior staff can talk to their staff members, say, guys, that's not what this is all about. It's all about customer service. So that's big here. We've completed a City Hall conceptual redesign. The City Hall was built in the mid-90s. It was opened in 1996 with the council of the day, which Mayor Neil Schoen was the mayor, and his council. We were really looking at how we can better utilize the first and second floor for customer service, which also includes accessibility. If you come into our first floor, it's not inviting for those that need accessibility. So the whole revamp of the first and second floor, where the public is in and out every day, will be far better once we're through this. And we have received some government granting for this, so that's where we're proceeding on this. So staff is working diligently with a consultant on this, and there's quite a bit of wasted space on both floors that we can better utilize for both public areas and for staff areas. So that'll be all implemented there. But again, I go back to the accessibility. That's something we've talked to and will be talking to our accessibility committee on when those plans are put to fruition. We'll get their take on them and see what changes need to be made, if any, at that time. So that's what we're moving forward here. And basically, from a customer service perspective, we made our council meetings virtual, obviously because of COVID. But following when the pandemic is over, we'll continue to be virtual, as far as people can stay at home if they don't want to come to City Hall and attend a council meeting. They can watch the whole thing live from the comfort of their own home. So Again, COVID has made us change the way we do things. Some things we don't like, but there are things that we're going to be doing that we'll continue to do because of COVID that allow us to give great customer service and allow more options for our community. On to rebranding. This year, a strategic priority included corporate rebranding and a new website, which is going to be launched in the next few weeks. Since 2004, our corporation has drastically changed with the addition of new events, the evolution of existing events, Canal Days, new facilities, the Valet and Health and Wellness Center that came on in 2013, our new Engineering and Operations Center that came in 2016, and the addition of new branding initiatives such as the Participate brand that we use all across our events and all across the city. And we have had some changes in our department structures. The marketing environment has also changed since 2004. And with the advent of social media and the increase of social media marketing, which majority of businesses out there are taking advantage of today, the corporation recognized the need to not only address, but also communicate these structural, social, and media marketing changes in the larger context of the City of Port Colborne brand. The new logo, which you can see here on the bottom, and it's also throughout the presentation, by the way. It pays tribute to our marine heritage. The tall ship has been a staple of our corporation's identity and was used prior to 2004 as part of the Gateway to Niagara branding. The new logo incorporates the nostalgia of the tall ship with a fresh new design that signifies our ability to forge ahead while honoring our city's history and past. We are slowly launching our new branding, and the community will begin to see the new look and feel around the city. For example, pictured here is a city vehicle with a new logo. And no longer is each department having their own logo. We actually have a city logo. And in the case of the vehicle that everybody sees here, it says the building, which is the building department. And that's how we're going to forge forward. So no longer does Public Works have a logo and Parks and Rec have a logo. The city has one logo, and then the departments can be placed underneath for their vehicles or their facilities. And we're also very excited that we have a new website. As I said earlier, that'll be coming out in the middle of December. The website is user-friendly. Ours is not, believe me. The 4 years I wasn't serving on city council, I used to pull my hair out trying to navigate our city website. So our new one is more user-friendly. But again, the big thing our staff came forward with is, look, it's nice to put a new website out there. And again, I'm going to go back to the business world because that's where I come from. You have to freshen it all the time. Things move so fast today in technology, and you can't put a website up and think 5 years later it's still going to work for you. We all know it doesn't. So the city is the same way. So our website redesign is going to be made that each department goes in and refreshes it on I won't say a daily basis, but at least a weekly to monthly basis, depending on how things are changing within their departments. So we're really happy to see that come forward, and actually council in the next few days is actually going to have their first look at it, and we're going to go through a little workshop on our new website, so it gets us used to what it will look like and get our comments on this. So we're forging ahead with that. Under economic development, we're moving fast and furious with this department. The pandemic has significantly impacted the business community, including those who rely on tourism. So moving forward, a key objective is to create a new economic development and tourism division within the city of Port Colborne, which will be focused on supporting local businesses and partnering with key stakeholders on resiliency and recovery initiatives while attracting more residential growth, commercial and industrial investment, and also tourism. A cross-functional team of city staff has been created to expedite economic development inquiries. And it's going to have the moniker City Development Team. It'll coordinate, prioritize, and accelerate investment inquiries and development proposals. Time is money for investors and entrepreneurs, and we need to adjust our processes to meet their expectations and timelines for those expectations. So, whether it's a current business here within the municipality or industry, commercial enterprise, or it's somebody new that wants to come and invest their dollars within the city, we need them to walk into City Hall, sit down with all the staff that pertains to what they want to do, and make sure that when they walk out, the majority of their answers are in their hand. If there's anything new that we need that they've brought to the table that we can go out and get, it needs to be done in a timely fashion. But just for an example, so if somebody comes in and buys a few hundred acres and they want to put homes in, we've got to make sure that when they walk out, they know what the water sewer capacity is in that area, what the hydro is like in that area, bell, telephone, cable, things like that, how the road network is. What are the parks in the area? Are they going to need to build a new park in that new subdivision that they're building because the parks in that area are too far away? Where are the schools? Where's business? That's what people want to know. And specifically when new people come into Port Colborne or any municipality to develop, they want to know what's there for their staff. So when their employees come down with that company or who they hire, if they're not from this area and they're moving from somewhere else, what does Port Colborne have to offer them? Well, we've got beautiful beaches, we've got beautiful parks, we've got our lakefront, we have Showboat Festival Lighthouse Theater, we have great shopping in Port Colborne, great restaurants. We're 30 minutes from Buffalo, we're an hour and a little bit to Toronto, so we're close to everything. And then in Niagara itself, we have St. Catharines, we have Niagara Falls, we have Niagara on the Lake, so we have lots of amenities. We have the farming community in our West End and in West Lincoln, Grimsby, Wainfleet. We've got festivals from north to south, east to west for everybody to enjoy. So we have as many amenities, if not more, compared to the GTA, and you're not stuck in traffic. So that's huge. So those are things, though, that investors do look at coming here is the fact that the well-being of their employees. So we've got a lot to offer here, not just in Port Colborne, but in Niagara. So the other new piece of business that we've got is called City Real Estate. We've created an inventory of surplus city-owned residential, commercial, and industrial property, and we're marketing these for sale. Phase 1, which has just been released, that involved 6 infill development opportunities. Phase 2 will be rolled out in the new year in 2021, probably in the second quarter. And that'll be a multi-phase project designed to maximize the value of city property, and it'll achieve economic and social benefits. So not only do we have to look at just the economic benefits, but its social benefits. So, geared to income housing is a major issue across Niagara, and it's a major issue here. So affordable housing. So whether it's that young couple that is just getting married and they want to get into the housing market, I just can't fathom somebody trying to spend $500,000-$600,000 on a brand new house. And they're in their 20s and they're just started work out of university or college. And so we need that affordable housing so that they can get into housing, and then they can move up the chain as they become better paid or more successful in the jobs and careers that they choose. So you'll see more of that coming in the new year. We're also continuing to work with the Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority and our fellow municipalities to enhance our marine industry and build on the Niagara Trade Corridor, which includes marine, rail, and highway. Port Colborne and the majority of Niagara is well situated with the Welland Canal, major highway, the QEW, Highway 140, 406, and Highway 3, which comes in from the Buffalo area and goes out towards Windsor, although a slower route, but it does pick up a lot of communities that way. So, and Port Colborne is also lucky. Back in the late 90s, we purchased the rail lines from CN, and we actually operate those now. Geo Rail is our operator that is under contract with us. We own the rail line on both the east and west side of our canal, and it services both the canal lands and current and future industrial lands. So many organizations and businesses across Port Colborne have taken advantage of our rail system, and it does work well, and we're looking to enhance that even further and make sure that we get more rail business in Port Colborne to move goods. Under tourism and resilient Port Colborne, in order to meet our strategic objectives, our economic development team is growing. We have a manager of strategic initiatives, Gary Long, who's overseeing the daily operations. We're in the process of hiring a new economic development officer. That person will be starting on Monday. And it did become vacant in September, so we've gone out and we think we've got just a dynamite person coming in on Monday. So you'll hear more about that. We've created a new position, the tourism coordinator, to work closely with the local BIAs and business community on marketing initiatives, as well as the Chamber of Commerce with Dolores. Staff are currently working with consultants, and a report and recommendations are expected in the Q1 of 2021. And this is regarding our cruise ship business case and our cruise ship initiative. St. Lawrence Seaway has begun to create the cruise dock on the west wall at the Sugarloaf and West Street intersection right there, right near our old city yard. So that whole area is looking at to be revamped as we move forward, but the Seaways put on their phase one, getting the apron ready, the security fencing, make sure all the bollards are fine for the cruise ships to tie up. The second phase of that will move south along that wall as they do some repairs along there. That wall has been there for many, many years. So that needs to be done. So that'll actually allow us to take in the new cruise ships that are coming in 2022 that are quite large. They're around 685 feet long by 78 feet wide, and they'll fit in that southern area, which has a little bit more depth than the current area. So we're going to make sure that all the facilities are there for fresh water, for the sewage from ships to be get rid of all that stuff. It'll allow for fueling. It'll also allow for the ships to bring in all their goods for their kitchens and their food services. And the other initiative we have is we're going to try to make sure that we deal directly with our cruise lines, that we can show them, boy, does Niagara have a lot to offer. You know, we've got a fish market right here in Port Colborne that has the fresh Lake Erie perch and pickerel from Minor Brothers. We have fresh produce that can be delivered from Niagara. We have our wine industry. Not only Port Colborne, but Niagara in general has great beers on the small brewery side. Alcohol can be purchased right from Niagara now. We have great distilleries here and more opening up. And so we have a lot to offer. So instead of sending a refrigerator truck with frozen food from Miami, we can offer Niagara right to their front door on their ships and allow their passengers to enjoy a taste of Niagara and also a taste of Port Colborne on especially the fish side. So we have lots of fresh food and all kinds of amenities that can go along with that. Our fruit belt is second to none. Staff are currently working with consultants on a report for that. So as I said, that comes out in Q1. We're excited about the revitalization of the Niagara South Tourism Association. Staff from Fort Erie, Port Colborne, Wainfleet, and Welland are meeting weekly to discuss new communications and marketing initiatives for Niagara South Coast and to help support our tourism. I'm a big proponent of working with others. We shouldn't be working in silos, and as many of communities that can work together on different initiatives. So the South Coast is a great initiative for our end of the peninsula to move tourism forward. Here's just a little example of a video that we're using. So, whoops. So short videos like that, our staff are continually making, and just to show off Port Colborne and our retail and restaurant business. And I'm sure we'll be getting into some of the commercial industrial side as well. With regards to our fire and emergency services, they continue to serve our community, of course, following all COVID-19 protocols. I want to mention their Fire Safety Week initiative. They do this every year. Usually there's an open house, which is well attended by adults and children alike. And that usually goes for a Saturday for a majority of the day. And also our fire department's always actively out there within the community, aside from their fire duties, but talking about fire prevention and showing displays to schools and different groups. But due to COVID-19, obviously things have changed this year. And they took a more digital approach. During Fire Prevention Week, they posted a social media educational video on various platforms, and they had more than 21,000 people look at that. So that's fantastic for our fire department. We had CHCH TV. They came down and did a morning show, and the theme this year was cooking up safety in the kitchen. And I think this goes to show, even when you're trying to get an important message out to the community, you can still do so on the digital platform. And again, this pandemic has taught us a lot, and digitally, which is the way of the future, we know that, and things have changed. So again, all our departments and staff have greatly adapted to this. Our next slide is an example of one of the quick videos that the fire department created. There is no sound to this, so don't think you're missing something. Okay, as you saw, the burnt out pot, now it started on the stove. Very dangerous, but our guys were able to get there and make sure everybody came out safe. Engineering and operations department, the operations division was extremely busy over the last few months. As you can see, they've completed more than 70 projects throughout the city. In response to the pandemic, minor changes were implemented to promote physical distancing, such as specific staff bringing a city vehicle home at night, which allowed them to drive directly to their work site in the morning. Mechanics had split shifts. We also implemented the marina store, which has a working bay, which they used to fix boats there. We use it to fix our vehicles. So we split our mechanics up so that it kept them separated during this. We also took our public works crews, the roads crew, parks and rec. We had them at our new facility on Kalali. And then we also used the 2 arenas in Valet before any ice went in. And each rink hosted a team of workers, so that if somebody did contract COVID, we were able to pull that group out, and it didn't make the whole department stop. They were still able to work. So staff came up with those ideas, and it worked out very well. And we continue to keep them separated as much as possible. Obviously, we're not through this yet. Just some high-level projects that we did complete this year. All our scheduled road resurfacing was completed. Sidewalk design and construction was done. Street lights were repaired. Upgrades to local parks. Our lighthouse project was completed at Lockade Park. The Sugarloaf Marina, there was numerous updates there. The Valley Health and Wellness Center had work going on while it was closed. We've gone through a number of municipal drain reports, specifically out in our Ward 4 area. We worked with GeoRail to improve the railroad crossing at Sugarloaf and Elm, which is just phenomenal now. And we also partnered with Geo on installing a safety fence on the western tracks off of Steele Street, running towards Cement Plant Road and the border with Waynfleet, trying to keep the ATVs, motorcycles out of that area. It is a working rail yard, so we needed it to be more safe. So we partnered with Geo on that. Under the community and economic development, they were very busy this year. The marina had a very successful season with approximately 75% of our customers returning, which during a pandemic is actually great news for us. We ensured that physical distancing and proper protocols were in place. And we were also in the process of reviewing current practices and looking to make improvements for future years. And we've surveyed our past guests, staff, and council members to get their feedback with regards to our marina. One of the best features in Port Colborne are the beaches. Our team is in the process of completing a beach master plan for both Nickel Beach and Centennial Beach. And it'll explore ways to enhance the local beaches. For example, at Nickel Beach, we're looking at possibly bringing in food vendors and improved washroom facilities to add to our overall experience. Those are some of the things that I heard right in the mayor's office from emails from people that came in from other parts of Niagara or Ontario. Our washroom facilities there are not very good. So they were there when I was a kid, and I'm sure Dolores remembers that. So those are things that we're looking at to improving, and also kind of bringing back the food vendors. We did have a snack shack there at one time, but the storms destroyed that. We've also completed our work at the Valley and Health and Wellness Center. We actually what they call polishing the floors. It was a new coating we put on. They were quite stained although it's only been open since 2013. We needed to fix that up, so we put a resilient stain on there that allows us to clean up stains a little bit better than the previous concrete. Community events, unfortunately, events, as I said earlier, Canal Days, the Santa Claus Parade weren't able to happen this year, but our events team made a priority to find ways to engage our community, which included continue with the spring and summer farmers market, creating socially distanced safe ways to celebrate Christmas. We have our Christmas lights for homeowners and apartment dwellers. Also, we have a business community light display for storefronts and their windows to hopefully win some prizes from other local businesses and restaurants within the community. So hopefully everybody participates in that. And again, the holidays are going to look different for all of us this year. The festive spirit will be alive and well in the city of Port Colborne. I talked about the home decorating and the business community. Home decorating can win a gift card from a retail shop or a restaurant of their choice. And then the downtown Christmas display with the businesses. We'll be hosting a Christmas market on Friday, December 11th from 10 to 1 at the Market Square. So come on down and look for some gifts for your family from that. We'll be increasing our Christmas light displays at our parks. Great opportunity to get out for a leisurely stroll and some physical activity and see the beautiful light displays. And our staff is doing that as we speak. And on Saturday, November the 28th, the Fire and Emergency Service hosted a drive-through toy drive in support of Port Cares. And we were overwhelmed by the community support, and they dropped off more than 4 truckloads of toys and non-perishable food items that were delivered to Port Cares. And we'll also be taking those again at our market. Port Colborne Historical Marine Museum, they've been extremely busy reinventing new ways to engage our community. Starting this fall, they implemented bass, and that's no pun on the fish, which you catch lots in Lake Erie, but it's called Book a Safe Service. People can come and register in advance for a private exhibit showing, and groups are limited to 4 people of the same household. So all you have to do is call the museum, and you can have a private showing of our display this year. And again, although things are different this year, rest assured the museum grounds will be decorated and the holiday spirit will be flowing. They also hosted a grand old Christmas and Christmas pudding takeout kits fundraising event, again, virtually. The grand old Christmas fundraising event included the following. It was Christmas cards printed from our heritage printing press, a grand old Christmas festival candle and globe, and make your own wreath kit with natural materials. The Christmas pudding take-home kits included the 1906 St. James recipe book with a bit of a modern conversion to it, specifically for our Christmas pudding that's very popular at the museum. It came with a fine china teacup and a spoon wrapped in holiday fashion. They went for $10 and they sold out within a week. So that's fantastic on their part. The museum has extended their season. They usually close between December to May, but they are going to continue to stay open and have those tours that I spoke about. And they also have explored virtual engagement opportunities, including a top hat presentation, which we'll hopefully be able to do online, creating a history from home series and educational social media videos. Please continue to watch their social media channels for more information on these digital opportunities. Our Port Colborne Public Library, we are happy to say our public library also rose to the challenge and made sure they were able to continue to provide services to the community. And here are just some of the highlights. Starting November 19th, the library continued their online catalog, which has a new look. We have migrated to a new library system called Evergreen. We've joined Link Libraries in Niagara Cooperative, which is a group of Niagara Regional Libraries and Niagara College who have come together to improve library services for their communities. And the following libraries are included in the new program: Fort Erie, Lincoln, Niagara College, Niagara on the Lake, Pelham, Thorold, West Lincoln, Grimsby, and Welland. Library card holders can now go to any Link library and borrow materials. They can also place a hold on an item from another Link library and pick it up there. The Port Colborne Library card holders can now enjoy the new online catalog with updated features. Participants can create online checkout carts, book lists, and place books on hold across all of the Link. With our new online catalog, your carts and lists can be saved, printed, or shared to others. The library introduced Universal Class, which is free continuing education courses. Residents could enroll in their choice of over 500 personal and professional development courses. Rebranding process also brought us new library cards. There's 4 styles to choose from. That includes photos from the community and the library's new logo. And I did speak to our head of our library yesterday with regards to having a digital card, and that is something that the link is going to be discussing in their next meeting, actually. And I think we're near the end here. Under the strategic priorities for 2021, we've approved our 2021 operational and capital budgets. City staff are now able to move forward with priority projects and key initiatives with greater clarity. These include the COVID-19 recovery initiatives, allowing residents financially impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic the flexibility to defer property tax bill payments, water and wastewater billings without penalty until March 31st of 2021. Residents interested in taking advantage of this deferral program can visit us at portcoburn.ca. We're increasing the community grant program by 20%. This is a grant that goes out to our community groups to help them offset major costs for rebuilding things within their buildings or running programs with what they do. One thing I was involved with minor hockey, where every so often we had to recertify all our coaches. We did actually go after a community grant because we weren't able to fund that, and the community grant helped us with that. So those are things that we do through that. The city also included in the budget, it's a 90,000 grant to Hospice Niagara. It's $30,000 per year over the next 3 years, and that'll start in 2021. And we're continuing our association with Pathstone Mental Health, and we're going to be giving them a further 20,000 for 2021 for their funding for the programs that they've brought to Port Colborne over the last couple of years. We're expanding our student placement program, which creates more opportunities for students, specifically those in college and university, come to work in Port Colborne. It might be planning, engineering, out in our public works areas where they can actually put what they're learning at school to good use, so that when they get in the job market, it may be back here at the city of Port Colborne or for another municipality or company. We're increasing our economic development capacity. As I said earlier, the tourism coordinator, which is a new position. COVID-19 has significantly impacted the business community, including those who rely on tourism. So moving forward, a key objective is to create a new economic development and tourism division right here at the city of Port Colborne. I've talked about many digital initiatives that we've taken. We've also passed our 2021 capital budget, and it'll invest $5.2 million on key projects to renew and replace our infrastructure across the city. Funding to complete stormwater drain repairs at the Valley Health and Wellness Center, replacing the multi-use trail to Dane City, the trail running from Lakeview Park along the promenade to Dane City. It's recognized recent trail improvements. There has been some deterioration there, so we're improving that all along the way. And that is very popular, right from Lakeview Park right into Dane City. Specifically our promenade, it was so busy this summer because of COVID. You know, obviously people couldn't travel. They were coming to Port Colborne from all over the province and enjoying the downtown, grabbing a lunch or dinner somewhere and sitting along the promenade and watching ships go by. It was fantastic to meet many new people. We're doing an infrastructure needs assessment of our water and wastewater and roads with a goal of assessing asset conditions and identifying opportunities to reduce water and wastewater billings, road reconstruction and maintenance work, as well as sidewalk replacement, and that'll increase by 20% to update this infrastructure. So that brings me to the thank you. So Vern and the Chamber of Commerce, I appreciate it. I think I went over a little bit of time, but we are busy here and our doors continue to be knocked on for investment. So we're working very diligently.
Thank you, Mayor Steele. That's an amazing presentation and pretty thorough too. You actually knocked off a bunch of my questions, so it's perfect.
We can tell people out there you and I didn't sit down and discuss all this earlier. So
it wasn't planned ahead of time. We can tell everybody that.
Oh, no.
So yeah, let me see what I've got here. Sorry, I just lost the screen for some reason. Okay, with regards to the HOPA initiative with the Memorandum of Understanding, let's start with that one. It's with the cities of Welland, Thorold, Port Colborne, and HOPA being Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority. A lot of people are pretty excited about what that opportunity to bring forward, and I don't know, personally, I see Port Colborne as being the prime beneficiary of this whole thing, just because of your shoreline along the canal and the ability to to expand that, your rail, tie-in with what you mentioned about was it geo rail and so forth. Could you see where you envision Port Colborne being in, say, 10 years with regard to this MOU?
Yeah, so with regards to that, we do have a number of properties along the canal within the limits of Port Colborne, which are owned by Transport Canada now. So they are divesting a number of those. Some are commercial industrial properties, other are infill building lots, which were acquired by the government back when they expanded the canal back in the 20s and 30s. So those lots, although won't have any impact on the canal itself or the use of the canal, there are properties that can be developed into housing or apartments and things like that that we would definitely look at as a city. But Port Colborne, you're right, is situated. We have a port that's south of the bridge, so when the canal closes, that portion of the canal can continue for 12 months of the year. So if ice breaking is available, or like the last number of years, the lake hasn't frozen like it usually has, so ships can continue to come in and out and drop off cargo and have that moved by truck or rail. But Port Colborne is in a great situation on the north end. We own a large acreage north of Ramey's Bend, which we're looking at developing. So we're working with the region of Niagara right now to bring services under the canal in the north end of the city, which we'll look at putting in water, sewer. We've had hydro and the gas company involved with regards to that project. So that is under planning right now through our department in the region of Niagara. So yeah, so future development of our lands on the north end are great, and both the south end. So we're looking at that. And you're right, Welland has some good tracts of land that can be utilized with the marine industry. They may take a little longer because there are no docks along there. Their docks are in their downtown core, which is in the unused part of the canal. So, as Mayor Campion said in one of the meetings we had recently, we kind of lost out on that, but it's there for the future. Also, Thorold has, very similar to Port Colborne, has dock space that had companies on it in the past. Well, they're gone and been torn down. So there's some vacant land there that Thorold is looking at to redevelop into the marine use and move cargo in and out and bring businesses in that utilize the canal. So yeah, the area, St. Catharines pretty much is built out. They have some small areas, but they are built out where they are, with Port Weller Dry Docks, which is back up and running with Heddle Marine. So we congratulate them with the contracts that they just received. So yeah, you're going to see a lot more movement along the canal in Port Colborne as far as new business coming in, creating jobs, creating investment within our city. But we got to make sure that it molds in well with our residential areas and how we move traffic through the city and whether it be rail or trucks. The ships are here to stay, so it is a working canal. So everybody has to realize that cargoes are going to continue to come and go through either Port Colborne or stop here and unload and load. So another advantage we have in Port Colborne is we are a port for what they call the Cleveland Express. It's a small container ship that fits through the canal. It comes in from Antwerp, Belgium, and it stops at Cleveland. It will stop in Port Colborne and load and unload. We've had it over the last number of years where they'll take a number of containers off, and we've got companies here that logistically look at bringing the containers in, and as the ship comes back from Cleveland, those cargoes are loaded back on to go over to the European market. So
Wow.
we're well set here. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I think Welland is always taking pride in having created the infrastructure for development, industrial development anyways, prior to trying to attract a business to come in. And obviously businesses are very reluctant to come in if the infrastructure is not in place and it's not shovel ready. With regards to the under canal service corridor, it sounds like it's the answer to that shoreline anyways. Is this something, do you think, can happen in the next 4 or 5 years? And is both the city and the region going to be ready to put the funding up for it, or how do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, so it's, as I say, it's on the drawing board right now. So we're hoping that within the next couple of years that project is underway and hopefully completed. The faster we get those services over there, the faster we can get development, which means tax dollars coming in, development dollars coming into the region, jobs. You get a company that comes in and creates 50 jobs. Well, that may be 50 jobs within their four walls of their business. if you actually look at that, the numbers today say that it creates 5 jobs outside there per job they have. So that's a lot of employment that can be created within the Niagara region. So, and again, I'm one of those guys and one of those mayors, and I talk to all my mayors like this. It's not just Port Colborne. Whatever's good for Port Colborne is good for the region, and a lot of times what's good for the region is good for Port Colborne. And I'll use the new plant uh, in Genio plant, the old GE plant in Welland. It's amazing how many employees that are new to Niagara have moved to Port Colborne, taken up residence, although they may work in Welland. So that's a bonus to Port Colborne, and it's also a bonus to Welland. So as I say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. It's so true in development. So that this whole Highway 140, 406 corridor, we're in its time to boom, and you're going to see that over the next number of years.
That'll be great. And we mentioned earlier before we came online the Mid-Peninsula corridor that might tie into that 140 structure, the 406 140 structure. Can you perhaps provide some insight to our listeners on what might be in the works for that?
Yeah, so any discussions I've had with our MP and both federal and provincial people is the fact that we could bring the Mid-Pen is probably going to be put in phases now, as opposed to one straight highway that we talked about back in the mid 2000s. We can take it from Fort Erie towards Smithville right away, which actually ties in the 140, the 406, the QEW, that area. It'll help alleviate traffic on the QEW. But up in Hamilton, they're looking at bringing that off the 403 that runs over to the 401 corridor up through Brantford and then into London area. So, and then it takes it right out the 402 into Sarnia. So they're developing that around the Hamilton airport, because the Hamilton airport is getting very busy with regards to companies that want to come in, use the airport to bring in shipments and then truck it out from there. So what they're looking at is putting their corridor in, and then eventually that'll tie in with our corridor. So one will start from the Hamilton end, one will start from our end, and you kind of meet in the middle. So what the actual location at this time is really undetermined, but I know that the federal government is really looking at this and wanting to move it forward. And I think there's been some more talk between the feds and the province resurrecting this project. And I think it makes sense. The QEW is very, very busy coming in. I mean, everybody knows that you get into the Burlington Skyway area on a weekend and it's just gridlock, where 10 years ago you really didn't have that. So we are getting busier down here, both economically but in the tourism side of things. So we do need alternate ways of transportation. We brought the GO train into that comes into Niagara Falls. They're going to be building the new Grimsby stop. So hopefully moving more people on rail too will also alleviate the car and traffic that way. So, but yeah, that Mid-Pen, it's still on the drawing board. So how long it'll take, I'm not sure, but
yeah,
it's good to see in our lifetime, Vern.
That'd be great. Other mayors have commented on the fact they're hitting record numbers for residential building permits and housing booms. And Mayor Redekop in particular, and I'm sure a lot of the others, are seeing an onslaught, if you want to call it that, of GTA residents leaving Toronto and coming down here. And where I thought they all would have stopped at Grimsby, here we have Fort Erie with one of the biggest, outside of Niagara investors. Where does Port Colborne sit on that with regards to residential housing? And are you seeing an onslaught beyond when the beaches are opened? but are some of those beachgoers looking and kicking tires at residential lots? Do you see that happening?
Yeah, we have. I mean, we're lucky that we have seen a building boom. Back in 2010, Councillor Butters and I, when we served on city council, we brought in to take our development charges on the residential side down to zero to spur on. We were doing a handful of homes per year sporadically, but since then we've had a boom. So this council last year started to bring the development charges back in. So it really was a 4 years of the last council under Mayor Maloney, and then a couple of years under my last term as a city councillor. And then we're going to put it in over the next 4 years, bring it back. So it did spur on development, and it actually introduced Port Colborne to a lot of home builders and developers what it's like to build in Port Colborne, and that, you know, it is easy to deal with us down here with our building department and our planning department. Um, but we are coming to an end in our newest subdivision, Westwood Estates. But we do have tracts of land that Valet, formerly Inco, is selling, that we've had interest in, people talking to us that are talking to Valet to buy that. These are, I'm talking like 300-400 acres. We have property off of Main Street West and Highway 3 and Minor Road, which is a huge tract of land, which has had developers knocking on the doors. So we've talked about our planning issues that we need to do, specifically with regards to the water, sewer in those areas, and the stormwater and how that'll be affected. So we are seeing an influx. And not only that, we're seeing people coming and buying houses that, you know, used houses, I'll put it that way, that have been here for years, because they found, again, during the pandemic, they don't need to be sitting in an office tower in Toronto. They can be sitting by their computer at home here in Port Colborne. And we are seeing that, excuse me. But it's young people. It's just not, you know, people in their 50s, 60s that are coming here. It is young families coming down here and settling, and they don't need to be in the GTA every day. They can go up a few times a month, and they don't mind the drive, but they love the lifestyle of Port Colborne and Niagara. So yeah, we're going to see big things, I think, happening as everything is moving south.
Well, one of the other mention that we had, particularly Waynfleet and places like that, was the crisis really that's happened with lack of broadband internet, particularly in the rural areas. And you know, during COVID, it's become vital for a high school student to be online and be able to continue with their education and so on and so forth. And everything else, we're so dependent on the internet today. Where does Port Colborne sit as far as broadband, and do you see any needs for improving in that area?
Yeah, so we're always working hard. To be quite honest, one thing we're looking at is making Wi-Fi better at our marina. It's amazing over the summer how many people actually brought their boat in and worked from their boat. They use it like a cottage. So we're looking at our Lakeview Park and Marina area to better supply that. The NRBN, which is throughout Niagara, which deals mostly with the municipal governments and the mush sector. They're continually enhancing their infrastructure. And then you've got your normal, you know, your Bell and your Cogeco's and things like that. So the government just announced more funding for making, especially rural Ontario, more broadband friendly and more Wi-Fi friendly. So you're going to see some rollouts. Councillor Rob Foster at the region is our lead on that, and he's continually sending us information with regards to how they are going to expand across Niagara, and specifically places like Westlink and Waynfleet, where they don't have the infrastructure, let's say like Port Colborne. We've also worked with companies. We've used the government elevator, which we own. So the grain elevator in Port Colborne is owned by the city of Port Colborne. When we purchased our harbor back in the early 2000s, they've put towers up there so people in Ward 4 can get that direct line of sight for the Wi-Fi that way. So we are continually improving, working with companies. We will work with the government on their initiative to make broadband better. Fortunately for Port Colborne, I think it's our Ward 4 that will need more enhancement. So it's not the entire city. Where Waynfleet, it's pretty much the entire population there that does need better access to that. And you're right, you know, people don't not necessarily want to move down to a city in Niagara, but they want to live in a rural area. But again, they need that computer to be able to turn on, log into work, and you're right there without interruption.
Wow. You know, we can all comment on the changes we've seen with COVID. You know, I for one would go into a bike store and there's not a single bicycle for sale.
That's right.
I hope and I say to myself that post COVID, that we're going to have a whole new cohort of cyclists that they liked it during COVID. They're not going to just put the bicycle up in the garage and let it gather dust. They'll have experienced the benefits of it. We take a look at small businesses in Port Colborne and elsewhere, and you know, the resilient campaign program and so forth, and having more outdoor eating, more restaurant pickup and take home and so forth. Did you see anything after COVID staying in that regard that, and at home businesses, as you just said, where a lot of people don't have to go to work anymore? This was a huge breakthrough in terms of business practices. What do you envision as post-COVID as far as, say, for businesses, and can we keep this parking idea? Can we keep an expanded outdoor restaurant service idea? What do you see going forward in that regard?
So on the restaurant side, I do see us continuing. I think Premier Ford has indicated that the powers that he gave municipalities during COVID with regards to moving restaurant patios to public property or onto a street and things like that. I think you're going to continually see that. I think it's done well for Port Colborne. Anytime you went downtown in the summer, no matter where you went with the patio system, they were always busy. And they weren't just busy with people from Port Colborne or Welland or Waynflete, Fort Erie, that's close. They were busy from people from all over. I received a message from a family that emigrated to Canada, originally from France. And his comment was with regards to our patio that Canal Side did across the street, right on the canal, and how his young children commented it was like going home to France and sitting near water there and being able to have lunch and enjoy ships going by. So, we are catching up to Europe, which has been so far ahead of us. I mean, I was able to travel there prior to the last election. I took my wife on a trip and said, this might be our last one for a while. And that's the things I saw. Like our hotel had a little patio in the park across the street from our hotel, and the waiter went across with lunches and some glasses of wine and things like that. No fencing, and it wasn't, they didn't have security guards everywhere. Nobody was getting out of hand. I mean, it's a great lifestyle, and for those that want to enjoy that and have a lunch and a cup of coffee, or a lunch and a glass of wine, or a local craft beer is phenomenal. And I think you're going to see that. And I think what happened during the pandemic, it showed Canadians, but specifically Niagarans and people from Ontario, that we are here. There's more to us than just getting on a plane and flying somewhere, or getting in a car and driving up north. Come on down to Niagara, come on down to Port Colborne, grab your lawn chair, sit on the canal, enjoy your fish and chips or a sub sandwich or whatever it is from any of our restaurants, a nice pie from the Pie Guys. I'll give a shout out to those fellows. Right along the canal, and just sitting there and enjoying the day. And our promenade has never been busier. And the biggest comment you get is, wow, they actually still do stuff on the canal. And I keep telling people from out of town, because people know me. I go up and I'll just introduce myself and say, I am the mayor, but I don't recognize it. I think you're from out of town. Yeah, we're from Brantford. I met a couple from Brantford, and they came down. They were brought down by local friends. They came back on their own, enjoyed some Miners fish and chips, and they were there for about 4 hours. And I actually introduced them to Tom Miner, the owner of Miners, one of the owners of Miners Fish and Chips, and said, "This guy just caught your lunch probably yesterday. That's how fresh it is here in Port Colborne." But they're amazed at the actual ships, the ships dock and they unload, whether it's a small ship or a large ship. And a lot of people are enamored by that they can't believe that there's these boats going through the middle of our city. They just did not realize what was here. And they continually come back. And all during the fall, they were still coming back. And you'd still see some of the same faces from out of town. You'd still see new faces. Biking is huge in Port Colborne. We have a huge bike community that comes through Port Colborne from other areas, and they stop here for lunch, or stop and shop in our retail shops. So I think the biking will continue. I think you're right, Vern. It'll even get larger. Not only our own people, but those from outside that instead of going on bike tours down in the Adirondacks or New York State or Pennsylvania, they're now seeing Niagara as one of the best biking spots around. So it's going to be better, and I truly believe that people are going to continue to come back. That it's something new for them. It's a new venture.
It might be COVID may be a catalyst in terms of discovering Niagara, and we may perpetually have overcrowded beaches going forward. Who knows? Because but as you say, that vision is really nice in terms of what we could have and how it could help small businesses.
Oh, definitely, because I mean, I own a small business, and to be quite honest, we pretty much are the backbone of things. If you lose all your retail, we can be in huge trouble. I mean, we've always been lucky. In my lifetime, we saw our downtown just hustle and bustle, and then kind of West Street went sour for a while. We had an investor come in, Lester Schultz, and saw a vision there, and now you see what we have with West Street, and it's now expanding with the Rankin building going up, which is just going to move West Street further south and with more shops and restaurants. So, we're going to see the growth there. But we've always had a downtown that's been just pretty much full. It's very little empty spots in the downtown Port Colborne, where other municipalities aren't seeing that around Ontario. But we have been lucky, again, knock on wood, for that. And I do give huge shout out to our business community for being resilient and being able to survive and being able to adapt, especially during this. And again, working with and the city working with our Chamber of Commerce and our BIAs to, my opinion is, what do you need? We'll figure it out later, whether it's really in our policy or not. The 15-minute parking, do we need to spend a month debating it at city council and changing our policy? No, council knows that if we don't do it today, we could lose a business tomorrow. So let's get moving on it. We're not doing something crazy here in Port Colborne. We're just here helping our business to survive. So, I mean, and you're right. And I think the way we've adapted is going to help us move down the road when the pandemic is over, and just to be different no matter what happens. And businesses come to us with ideas, and let's move forward with it. So I hate sitting in red tape, Vern, believe me. I'm not a fan of that. Let's get moving on something. Get it done yesterday is my opinion.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we've run overtime, and I think principally because it's been very interesting, and the information you provide has been phenomenal, and it creates a great vision of where Port Colborne could be 5-10 years from now. That's for sure. Cruise ships coming in, a lovely downtown area, lots of tourists, lots of visitors, people moving here from Toronto. Good industrial growth along the canal, jobs for people, and well-paying jobs. It could be a great tomorrow.
Yeah, and you even look at our Humberston district, which is one of our older districts in town, right down Main Street, and the investment just lately going in there. We had one building that was fairly dilapidated. We had a local contractor come in and revitalize that. So, even Main Street seeing a revitalization with a lot of their buildings and businesses along there and the restaurants. So, whether it's that end of town and their BIA or the downtown BIA, they're all working together through this whole thing. And I think that working together even more today than maybe they did in the past has helped, and it'll help mold how we move into the future, because, whether it's in the north end or the south end of Port Colborne, we're pretty vibrant here, and we got a lot to offer.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Mayor Steele, for the time you've taken this morning and for preparing that presentation. The continuous flow of information is more important than ever. And as a Chamber of Commerce, we really appreciate the relationship we have with your city and with you personally. And we look forward to continuing with that in many days to come.
Good. Thank you, Vern.
Thank you. This concludes our Fall Mayor's Update series, number 7. And we're so grateful for all the mayors to have shared their time with us and for providing great insight into what's going on in Niagara. There are a number of weekly webinars and network activities taking place in the chamber, so please check our website to learn more about it. One in particular that's of interest is that we have a program underway for South Niagara restaurants. So please pass it on to anybody that you know as a restaurant owner, because they may want to take advantage of this. As a restaurant, if you go to our website, you can register and submit your menu in business hours, and we'll post it on our website and social media platforms. So you can shop restaurants for South Niagara right from the Chamber website. That's a great resource and additional exposure for your restaurant, and also a great way for consumers to find you online. So please pass that word around and go online and register. So that's it. And thank you again, Mayor Steele, and to everybody that's joined us. We've had great participation, by the way. Thank you, and look forward to talking to you again sometime. Thank you.